Kind of screen.
Oh, we're live.
Oh yeah, I just
This is the Triple Play Fantasy Basketball Show. Shout out Graham Weinstein and the entire Empire Media family. We are glad to be a part of the team. I'm your host, Coach Lewis. Back in the swing of things with students back in person, coaching track and field. I am joined by some of the realest, most opinionated humans behind a podcast microphone. And that is the hype, the voice, the commissioner, Eric, the Dr. Mendelson. Must feel good in the driver's seat, about to approach a bye week coming into the number one seed of our fantasy league, buddy.
Nah, because this is my team. Donovan Mitchell, Tobias Harris, Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, Damian Lillard, Monte Morris, etc. All listed as day-to-day or out. I'm done.
Where are the Kleenexes? Where are the tissues? The entire year. And then luck finally struck its evil head at you. You got some Raptors too on your team too, right? They're just resting like every other game.
Yeah. Pascal Siakam resting every other game. Fred VanVleet deciding to get suspended. Hey man, I got Rough Riders on my team.
Well, maybe the patch week.
rest in peace, DMX.
Yes, rest in peace. Excellent. Give it to you. That's our first DMX reference of the day, but we're gonna get back to him for sure. We're also joined by the man who says Papa's here when he wants to derive a point, and that is Sir Bradley Kilgore. What's going on, Brad?
Man, I'm on cloud 9. Have you looked at the standings lately? The
winning Wizards,
the
3 in a row,
yes,
buddy.
Sir. Yes,
3 in
sir.
a row.
I can't complain. Like I said they were going to make the playoffs, and now this is their rocket ship to what? 5th seed? I think they can get there.
No.
So wait, 10 out of the 15 teams in each conference make the playoffs, right?
That's right.
That's a bold take, Brad. That's a bold take right there, saying they're going to make it.
Everybody was saying they were going to miss, so apparently it is a bold take.
Hey, with 3 wins in a row, that puts the record at 22-33.
Mm-hmm.
But you got MVP Westbrook though with a cold 36, 15-9 last night. So the Wizards are dangerous. People don't want to play these guys.
Nobody wants to play them.
No. Who knows? Maybe you're right. Maybe they do make it to the finals this year. Also, my teammate at Coach's Corner on our Trip Play Fantasy YouTube channel, the veteran and number 1 member of the Ben Simmons fan club, Kevin Coleman. What's up, my guy?
Hey, man, I'm just enjoying life. My Kings on a 9-game losing streak, baby. So I'm just loving everything about basketball right now.
That is not good, by the way.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right. Just watching Ben Simmons ball out. That's all I need to know.
There you go. Even though he's only going to give you 15 a game, he definitely dominates the court on both sides. In today's show, we banter on subjects such as current NBA injuries, implications for teams like the Nuggets with Jamal Murray, an abrupt retirement from LA, or should I say Brooklyn? Why doesn't Anthony Edwards know anything about A-Rod? Why is Luka and Mark Cuban complaining like 9-year-olds at church? We're also going to talk, as always, our performance of the week, fantasy free agents, waiver wire pickups. It's fantasy playoffs for most of us. If you're out, it's your own fault. No Karl Anthony Town excuses. Our newest segment of Who You Got is going to feature 2 young, under 25 stars and John Morant versus Aaron Fox. And to close things out, as always, we have our question of the week, and that is, who's the most deserving of the Hall of Fame nod, with the 2021 Hall of Fame finalists being named. But first, a little news and notes around the league. First up, it looked like Donovan Mitchell suffered a serious injury scare, but no structural damage after an MRI. He'll miss several games, but Jamal Murray was not as lucky. He tore his ACL. What does this mean for the Nuggets? What does this mean for Jamal Murray? Brad, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the Nuggets. I think of any team that's built to like withstand, 20 shots a game coming out of their roster, it's probably Denver, because who's going to step right up? Will Barton. Like, that's all he does. He gets in the game and he hoists it, and he's pretty efficient. He's a good shooter. I'm not saying he can give you 100% of what, Jamal Murray was, but he can give you, I don't know, 80% of it, and then Jokic can make up the rest. MPJ can make up the rest. They got Dozier in the mix. I'm not too worried about you, Denver. I think they can still make noise.
You said Will Barton's going to give you 80% of Jamal Murray?
Sure. Why not? You don't like what's Jamal Murray averaging?
Yeah, he had two 50-point games last year in the playoffs, and
that's a single game. I'm saying like what right, but I'm saying like overall, like what's his average on the season?
Well, probably like 18.
Will Barton didn't play because he was hurt.
But that's what I'm like. Will Barton can give you 16. Will Barton can give you 15.
Yeah, but
a game.
He can't run the show, and the best pick and roll in basketball with him and Jokic, which is unstoppable, and gets Rudy Gobert off the court. They don't have that threat in the playoffs.
I don't really consider Jamal Murray a true point guard. I consider him a scoring point guard, like Kyrie.
Are there any true point guards in the NBA today, though?
Of course, Chris Paul.
Yeah, exactly, and he got drafted. And he was drafted in 2005. Talking about players drafted recently. Is there a true point guard?
De'Aaron Fox.
I do not think De'Aaron Fox is a true point guard.
I don't know what to tell you. What is he?
I will debate it in De'Aaron Fox versus Sean Morant. We'll get to it then.
All right, fair enough.
Kev, what's your take on the Nuggets? Are they swimming?
I mean, I never thought they really had a shot in the playoffs anyway. I think they'll be fine. They'll probably get bounced in the second round like I figured they would. I like Murray, but I think, he's averaged 21, just so we knew that. But if Barton can get in there and average 15, I think it's okay. But I don't think that they're going to have any chance to beat the Lakers, or if the Lakers are healthy.
Yeah, and I just think it's terrible time because you got Aaron Gordon you just traded for, and he seems like he's playing very well. He's up for an extension, as well as Michael Porter Jr. And kind of like you wanted to see that core play together to see like who are we going to pay. I think that is a big deal, and I think they had an outside shot. I didn't think anybody of us were going to pick them, but they were a little dangerous.
That's another thing about Aaron Gordon, like. He was really trying to get in where he fit in. He wasn't taking too many shots. He was just kind of taking what was open. Now that Murray's out, he's going to be able to do more of what he did in Orlando, but at a more efficient clip because he'll get better shots. So I don't think Denver's going to miss too much of a beat. I think they'll be okay.
I think Denver has to roll with the taller lineup to offset Murray's. Like
Bol at one.
Bol at the one, but like figure Jokic at the 5, maybe Aaron Gordon at the 4. Michael Porter Jr. at the 3, Will Barton at the 2, maybe Monte Morris as the ball handler. But I think
Monte Morris a lot.
Yeah, I think you have to go tall if you're Denver now to kind of offset that Murray loss.
Yeah, and Monte Morris is one. We're talking about efficiency. He's one of the most efficient point guards, one of the best backup point guards. But he's not ideal for you want him as your starter. But
don't sleep on Campuzzo.
Yeah, that guy is. Feisty. He's in your
about
face.
True point guards, man. That's a point guard right there.
He's annoying as hell. Like if he's your teammate, you like him. If you're playing against him, you want to instantly fight him.
It's like Pat Bev.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, except half the athlete and half the threat defensively. But yeah, Monte Morris, I know he's one of the leaders in that like assist turnover ratio. I know it's dating back to his college days. I do want to point out, I think that Jamal Murray will bounce back from this. He is known for how hard he works. There's an article that Jackie McMullen wrote like a couple years ago about his father, Roger Murray, and how he trained him all growing up and out there in the cold Ontario weather. He would have to do deep squats and have hot tea sitting on his lap. So if he moved at all, he's getting burnt. And if it falls on him, he's got to run hills. So like he's a guy that has been trained his entire life, and his work ethic is like second to none. So I can see him bouncing back and being very strong next year.
Child abuse.
Does he train with knives though?
A little bit.
Does he train with knives?
Am I missing something? Is there a guy that's training with knives?
Aaron Donald trains with knives, different sport, but
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
What's going on? Is that a parent thing, or is that his?
Nah, it's what he done. It's what he's done recently. So like, if he takes like the wrong step coming off the line, he's gonna get stabbed.
His dad throwing knives at him.
Yeah.
Did you see that video of that kid getting bricks
Marinovich.
thrown at him? I saw that video of the kid getting bricks thrown at him in the soccer goal. That's what I'm doing to my daughter. My daughter's going out. We're gonna work. All right, she's getting a scholarship.
Kevin, if you call me from jail, I'm hanging up.
This is hilarious. For the people at home, we are slightly joking and slightly serious over here.
from coaching with her on your lap during the game to throwing bricks at her in the goal.
Hey, listen, I am a teacher. I need to get her a scholarship somehow, or I can't pay for college. So we got to figure this out.
Oh man, and moving on to LaMarcus Aldridge, sudden retirement, 7-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. He announced his retirement due to irregular heartbeat and spending his time with his family. Thoughts on him, his basketball legacy, and just kind of like the unfortunate circumstances. We're gonna start with Kev.
Yeah, I liked LA. He was always really good. I wish he would have never left Portland. I thought that they had something there, and then him and Dame could have maybe finished that off, and then Kawhi left. But I think he's a very good player. I never thought he was like a transcendental star or anything like that. I thought he was just a very average, kind of above average guy, and I always like watching him play. But I think the game kind of passed him by towards the middle of the end of his career with what he was able to do.
He was an all-star, I think 7 times, but I think 7 and 8 years. So he really was rolling, and he was in the West. Like that's really, really hard to do, especially with all those forwards that were there. He's got career averages of 19 and 8. We are talking a little Hall of Fame in a little bit. So, Doc, I want to hear your perspective. Is he a Hall of Famer? And what is your takeaway from LaMarcus Aldridge?
Mid-range god. I think he kind of started that wave of big men that can shoot. Now, Aldridge was never a great three-point shooter, but he certainly wasn't your traditional, all right, I'm just going to get the ball in the paint and do that. He could do that big, but he also had a nice fadeaway. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I know when he retired, he had 19,000 and some change points, which is currently 51 in all-time scoring. But I think he's one of those players that you're like, yeah, he's really good. He was an all-star, but I think to be a Hall of Famer, you need to be really top in those accolades, for points, rebounds, etc. Or you need to have, some hardware, some MVPs, some championships. So I think he's going to be a good player that we saw growing up. Maybe a future guest on the pod. Now he's got some more free time, but he doesn't make it in my books.
Yeah, and it's kind of unfortunate because he had the chance kind of this year to get that title, and that might have put him over the edge. He was going to be starting on that Nets team, and the games that he did play, he looked impressive. He reminded me a little bit of it's funny he went to the Spurs, but he's like Tim Duncan without all of the intangibles, like without just like his IQ is lower, his defensive ability is not as good, but like given that ball in that mid range area that you're talking about, he excelled with some of the best. Now, the NBA Hall of Fame is weird on like some of the people that get in. Sometimes I'm like, why is he in? Like Mitch Richmond got in. He had 6-time All-Star, 5 All-NBA. So if you compare him with Aldridge, he's a higher peg up a little bit, but it's kind of to each his own. And I don't necessarily understand how all that voting works. Brad, what's your take on LA?
Yeah, I think he's in the Hall of really good. I wouldn't put him in the Hall of Fame.
I'm with you.
Yeah, like he's a guy that, I think everybody in the league respected until, the game changed a little bit where he then became, I wouldn't call him a liability, but there's players that you would rather have ahead of him. And I think that mid-range game was his bread and butter. And once that became a pretty inefficient shot, then, his use became less and less valuable because he's not a great defender. He was always one of those guys that was, he was really tall, but he wasn't necessarily a big man. Like you had to beg him to play in the post kind of. So I was a fan of his. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, unfortunately, you're talking about the defensive ability, like for Texas, before he was the number 2 overall pick, he was a threat defensively, but like when he got to the NBA, it wasn't as strong. And then like his game development, it makes you think about like his work ethic. Like if your mid-range shot is this like top tier. How can you not like push it back a little bit and translate to the 3-point? Like, is that on him or
no? I don't look at it like that. I think the reason he was such a defensive standout in college was because he was a 7-footer in college. Like, he's kind of a man amongst boys. You get to the pros where that's the default. Like, everybody that's that position is going to be your size, or an inch taller, an inch shorter, or stronger. And as far as pushing your game out, I think there's a lot. Like, there's a difference between shooting a 25-foot 3-pointer and a 30-foot 3-pointer. Like, there's a big gulf in pushing your game out 5 feet, and you can't just push it out 5 feet. You also change the way that your offense moves when you do that kind of thing. So I think he was kind of in no man's land, where he was super valuable for his early years, and then the tail end of his career, the game kind of changed up on him, and it's not really his fault.
I mean, let's be real. Any team would have taken him though had he wanted to play. Maybe not a starter anymore, but would have gotten valuable minutes off the bench.
And don't forget, he built a house for his shoes. You guys remember that? That shit was crazy. You remember he built a house behind his house for his shoes? I mean, that's Hall of Fame right there.
That's legendary. And I've always enjoyed listening to him talk. He just seemed like a really bright guy, and you kind of always rooted for him. And we saw him start with Portland with him and Brandon Roy. Then it's him and Dame. So, like, I know in Portland, like, I would love to see his number go in the Raptors over there. I think he's well deserved that, at least.
You think?
Yeah, his number should go in the Raptors for Portland. He's one of the greatest Portland Trailblazers. Also, he's probably in the top 5.
Besides Dame, I ain't thinking of many that are ahead of him.
No, it's not that
maybe Clyde Drexler,
Bill Walton.
He just didn't really do any. Like, it's not like they got a championship or
but is Portland like a big franchise like that?
How many championships have they won? One, I think, right?
But that's my thing. Like,
they've been to one Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't put Brad Beal's number in the Raptors just because he's one of the best players we've had. Like, he's having a good run, but he hasn't really done anything yet.
Yeah, but when you're a poverty franchise, you try to hang anything.
He was 5 times All NBA. And I don't think he was All NBA once for San Antonio, even though I think he got to 2 All-Star games. I think that was all in Portland. There is something to be said about that. But yeah, Brad, I hear you though. Like, we shouldn't put everybody's number up there just because they played 8 good seasons for a team.
That's a huge honor. Like, that's saying nobody should wear this number again. Like, that's I don't know. I think that's a little more than a few All NBAs and
nobody wants to wear 12 anyways. I mean, outside John Stockton, like, how many 12s do we got?
Hey, I wore 12 in high school. Don't
we found it.
My number. Yeah.
Hey, Drew Nick.
Get out of here.
That shows your age too, man. Our wily veteran choosing 12 probably after John Stockton.
I like how we act like Kevin's like 10 years older than us.
I'm not that old, guys.
I'm the same age as Kevin, by the way.
Yeah, he's the same age as me. Acting like I'm the old man in this group. I'm not Art. Let's go.
Shout out Little Cheesecake. All right. So we'll move on. Mark Laurie and A-Rod purchased the Lynx and T-Wolves from Glenn Taylor, who, this is weird. He still has full control for the next 2 seasons before new ownership takes over. Minnesota has missed the playoffs 16 of the last 17 years. Thoughts on the move? Does this mean the Wolves have a chance to not suck sometime soon? Doc?
I mean, I feel like if you're the Wolves, like, what else could have gone wrong? Like, you missed the playoffs 16 out of the last 17 years. The one year you did make it, you were the 8th seed and got bounced pretty quickly. I mean, that's like what every fan dreams of, is new ownership, so that hopefully people are willing to spend money. They're willing to put their money where their mouth is. It's interesting that A-Rod bought the Timberwolves, but you know what?
I got it.
Hopefully things are going to be better for them.
I got a little a take on the whole like A-Rod thing. So we all know that Seattle desperately wants their NBA franchise back there, and we know that A-Rod has Seattle ties.
They put it in the agreement that he can't move the franchise.
After 2 years, it's not in there anymore, right? In Minnesota, like, I don't know how much fans that they're getting. They got to be in the lower end as far as revenue is concerned in the NBA, and they could be a possible franchise that's gonna move out west. That's my little my little A-Rod thought. Maybe it works with
possible.
that. Kev.
Yeah, I mean they've needed a new kind of ownership group for. I mean, this is the guy that hired David Kahn. Do you remember David Kahn? He's got to be one of the worst NBA general managers out there.
Artist.
Yeah, he was bad. I'd put him up with Isaiah Thomas as being one of the worst GMs ever.
They also gave Randy Whitman his first coaching job. I think he has the lowest winning percentage in basketball history.
Yeah, not great. I mean, can you even remember any good coaches they've had the last 15
Flip Saunders.
years?
Flip Saunders.
Yeah, whatever.
Tom Thibodeau.
Flip was bad in the playoffs, though. He was a regular season coach.
Hey, he's dead. You don't speak ill of the dead.
Okay.
All right. Well, his son.
Rest in peace.
Too. Anyway, so when you're looking at kind of like what they did, they need a new ownership group. Now, is A-Rod any good? I don't know. His own players don't even know who the hell he is because he's so old. And J-Lo just got rid of him. So I think that when you're looking at it, they definitely need it. I would love to see him move. I just know that Minnesota is the 14th biggest market. And so I don't know if the NBA is going to allow that to happen because if we're being honest, the NBA is what's going to let them move or not. So I'd be interested to see what happens there. But they need kind of new ownership. I feel bad for Wolves fans. They're just like us, the Kings fans out here. So,
Anthony Edwards is a troll, by the way. He knows who Alex Rodriguez is. He played baseball growing up. Are you kidding me? He's one of the greatest baseball players ever. And he's all over TV. And his wife is Jennifer Lopez. Like, forget about it. He knows who this guy is. But it also shows like Anthony Edwards is just a clown and he's hilarious. I mean, look at this. Look at that face. He's a funny guy. I love hearing his interviews. Before we move on, I know Perk was upset because apparently Glenn Taylor had promised to sell the team to Kevin Garnett. And I think that Kevin Garnett is just a winner in life and on the court. So I thought that would have been a better move. He's gave his heart and soul to the T-Wolves before eventually moving on to the Celtics.
He won't even go back there. Like he
because of Glenn Taylor.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, like I don't think it matters. It doesn't matter who the owner is. This isn't like baseball where like the more you spend, there's a salary cap. So it doesn't matter, who the owner is. They can only spend a certain amount of money. Perhaps they can get better people to manage the team. I don't know how Glenn Taylor runs the business. I don't know if he's hiring guys that like he has relationships with and not actually vetting talent. You never know what that is, but it's not like A-Rod and the other guy are like, basketball minds. So I don't have any particular hope for that organization. I think their best bet is to continue to tank and continue to get good talent.
I think the Warriors have their pick too, though, because of the trade.
Exactly. And they're probably going to ship away, Cat soon. I just don't.
Yeah, I see him asking out in maybe in a couple years. Maybe A-Rod can smooth talk him with to stay, but I can see he's the next like superstar that's gonna demand a trade soon. At least that's what I think. I don't think he's gonna like playing with Anthony Edwards.
I don't think he's gonna have to demand it. I think they're just gonna ship him. Like he doesn't. He provides a lot of value for a different team. You could recoup a lot of assets, but at the same time, it's not like he's helping the Timberwolves win. So I think they wouldn't mind starting fresh with.
I think he's got at least 2 years though. I don't see especially with Glenn Taylor still running things for the next 2 years. He holds on to his guys, and I don't see him moving, but maybe we'll see some movement after that.
What's the agreement? Is it like, I think A-Rod has like a minority ownership now, and then eventually it becomes a full 100% over time. Is that how it works? I didn't look up.
I don't know the details on it. I think it's weird that you purchase a team and yet the previous owner still owns the team for 2 years. That's weird. It's
like a tentative. It's like a tentative engagement. Like, oh, hey, I'm going to propose to you now, but we're going to wait 3 years to get married.
I think it's a promise ring. Yeah. I think it's a minority stake where he can get some cash in his pocket now during the pandemic and still like keep his connections as owner and then kind of phase that out, because you get a lot of perks. People answer your phone call when you're the owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that goes away once you sell.
All right, let's talk a little fantasy. We are a fantasy pod. Fantasy ads for this week coming up, week 17. It's playoff, gentlemen. It's playoffs for most of the fantasy basketball leagues around the world. Who are the players that might decide a win or loss in the first round? We take a look at the top available players. Who are you squinting at to get on your team to put them over the edge in your matchups, Brad?
I got two. So my first one we already spoke about. It's Will Barton. I think he's the clear, easy pick. You know, when a guy goes down that's of Jamal Murray's caliber, that's a lot of minutes to fill. And Will Barton, he's a bona fide NBA player. He's not somebody you don't know what they're capable of. He's going to hoist shots. He's going to make shots. He's going to make threes. He's going to get some boards. He's gonna be a very efficient player for you to have on your team.
Yeah, I know he picked up Monte Morris.
Yep, that's a good pick too.
Yeah,
and then my second
he's already hurt.
Oh, of course.
My second one, this guy's kind of come on. It's good to see him get comfortable. Denny Avdija.
He had 0 last night, by the way.
He did have 0 last night. I'm aware of that. I didn't need you to put me on blast.
Sorry, he had a donut. He had a bagel last night. He played 20 minutes, didn't score a point.
But my point is that he's coming on. He's becoming a dependent part of that offense. It's typically Russ and Beal with all the usage rate, and then Rui gets the scraps, and then Bertans. But it's looking like now they're going to Denny more. He's getting more boards. He's getting more assists. I think he's going to start getting depended on more, especially when, we have Beal sitting out a few games because of his hips. So he's a sneaky one.
He rebounds well.
He does.
He won't play you out of a game, and he looks more comfortable these days.
He's starting to hit those open shots, which he wasn't.
Yeah, he's a little
threes.
He's a little bit more confident these days.
Yeah.
Doc, who you got? I mean, I know you're probably gonna have to use all 3 of your pickups this week because
thank God I was good at the beginning of the season. Got a bye. I don't know why you started with Brad. Brad hadn't checked his team since week 1. If we're continuing with the theme of putting if we're continuing with the theme of putting Brad on blast, he hasn't checked his team since week 1. I don't know why he went to him first.
He got James Harden and stopped keeping up, and just when his team really had a chance.
But for me, it's Jalen McDaniel. So over the last 6 games, he's averaging 32.5 minutes.
That's a good pick.
He's putting up
Jalen, not Jaden, huh? Yeah, they're brothers. But go ahead.
Yeah, both of them are solid right now.
So he's averaging 14.3 points per game, 4.8 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Gordon Hayward's going to be out for an extended period of time. Malik Monk, Devontae Graham, and Terry Rozier have all missed games here and there with some nagging injuries. And Charlotte's still kind of in the contention for playoffs. I think they're 3.5 games behind the Hawks for the division, so not like they're out of it. They're certainly well within striking distance of a playoff spot for sure. So that's somebody that I think is going to get a lot of minutes, and that's kind of what you're looking for at this stretch in the or this time for fantasy basketball.
That's who we want. The Wizards. We're coming for you, Charlotte. We want you. We want to play you in the first in the playing game. Bring it on. Vernon Carey had 20,
the Nets.
Vernon Carey had 21 and 6 for Charlotte last night, and that was his first. That's his biggest game of his career so far. So it's somebody to keep an eye on as well. But
I didn't know he was getting minutes now. I've been waiting for him to get some minutes, man.
Yeah, it only took the whole team and PJ Washington with an ankle sprain, and Zeller didn't play for him to get a chance.
I got love for Bismack Biyombo, but it's like, come on, man. Like, what you guys drafted Vernon Carey for this exact reason? Like, you're trying to build a future team. Like, give that guy some minutes.
I don't. Bismack he gets like $8 million. I don't know what his contract is, but he gets paid way too goddamn much. He got on that like that Kent Bazemore, like he was on that last wave of like the bad contracts are good contracts because you can trade them. Like he was on that last wave. Yes, sir. Man, that was pain. 4 years, $64 million. I'll never forget that number. I'm hurting just think about that. Kev, who you got?
Well, I think it's funny because Cody Zeller started to get into him, and that Widow Peak is starting to get into that. He's still in the league category. Like you watch him, you're like, wait, is that Zeller? Which Cody? What Zeller is that out there?
He's hooping still too.
Tyler, Cody.
They both suck. All right, so let's kind of go here. I would say
about as bad as the Plumleys.
Easy, coach.
Nah, hey, Mason's doing all right.
Mason's all right. Okay, Marshall was terrible. All right, so
Mason sucks.
Isaiah Stewart would be one for me. He's getting some minutes. He's only rostered in 48% of leagues in sleeper. If you're in sleeper, he had final 50 points last game in sleeper format. So if you're in that league, you can look for him. He's going to get some more minutes. He played the career high recently against the Thunder. So I like Isaiah Stewart. You see him, he's been pretty solid. They're going to give him more playing time because they're absolutely terrible. So you're going to see him play down the stretch. So I like him, and I'm going to give a shout out to my boy Grayson Allen. As a Duke guy, I always got to give him a shout out. He actually hasn't been terrible. He actually just got picked up in one of our leagues that I play in. So, yeah, I mean, he's there. I think they're going to be able to fill him in there. He led him offensively on Wednesday. He had 33 points fantasy-wise.
Yeah, he had 14 in the first quarter. What kind of BS is that?
He's carved out a nice career for himself. Like I thought he was going to wash out of the league. Like he's a legitimate player.
I thought if he tripped one more person, that was going to be it for him.
Hey, they fell over his foot. What I would say is, he had
brainwashed.
He's dirty.
Yeah, well, that's why he's doing.
Actually, that was Doc's most hated player. We did this earlier this year. Oh, it was yours? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You either love him or hate him. I mean, there's not a lot of people out there that love him. But, yeah, I think that he's a sneaky pickup, especially on the Memphis team. He can hit threes, and it depends on how your league does it. So those two guys are someone I'd be looking at.
Yeah, your boy Isaiah Stewart, he had 15 points and 21 rebounds. And he was kind of bullying Moses Brown for Oklahoma City yesterday. So that is somebody that you want to keep your eye out. And for me – and it's funny because the playoffs there, this is the champ of the waiver wire. The legend of Lou Dort returns.
Oh, nah. Can't do it anymore.
He needs to get picked up ASAP. He returned after his injury, 3 weeks off. He goes crazy in his first game back. He had 42, 7, 3, 4 steals, and he hit 7 3-pointers. And then yesterday he had 26, 6, 2, 3 steals, 3 3-pointers made. The development of this kid is amazing. Remember when he was being left butt booty naked for 3?
Oh, yeah.
Like he's freaking Ben Simmons or something. Now this kid hits 7 threes in a game.
That's why I got paid.
A testament to hard work. I thought that would get a rise out of Kev. I'd put that in there for you, buddy.
Yeah, I'm done with this slander.
Okay. Jeez. Man, I wonder, did Twitter come for you? You took him over Luka. No?
They can kiss my ass. Okay?
Yeah,
I would take them over Luka. I don't worry about Twitter people. You guys don't bother me. Except for if you get kludged.
There we go. I was waiting for that.
I think that the first time I seen Ben Simmons kind of having some difficulties in a long time defensively was when he was trying to guard Kyrie. But it's Kyrie Irving, but he was still holding his own. Man, we're looking forward to that in the playoffs. Please give us the 76ers versus Nets Eastern Conference Finals. We're all looking forward to that. All right, wherever you find your podcast, go follow the Triple Play Fantasy franchise. We got all things hoops, gridiron, and diamond covered. If you're not keeping up, you might get passed like Wilt Chamberlain did as the Warriors' all-time leading scorer. Yeah, even though he has career averages of 41 and 22 rebounds a game for the Dubs. Triple Play is giving you the heat like D-Wade, even if he's going to Utah to become a partial owner. Let's face it, no one picks the Jazz on NBA 2K, but apparently you can purchase some stake in the organization with no issues. If you're enjoying the content, how about dishing out an assist like Scott Skiles, who may or may not have dropped 30 in Orlando in one game, depending on who you ask, by giving us a 5-star rating and review. Check us out on Twitter and IG at TripPlayFantasy. Eric and Brad run our social media and provide daily questions. Our weekly episode drops as well as spot interviews. Austin Eckler had all the eyes last week, polling our most viewed and played interview to date. Just want to say thanks from the entire Triple Play Fantasy family for your listens each and every week. Now it's time for a little NBA catch-up, starting with our impressive performance of the week. Who is setting the league on fire and needs some recognition? Doc Mendelson.
So for me, it's got to be Steph Curry.
Let's go.
He scored 30 in over 9 straight games. He admitted it's one of the hottest stretches of his career. He's coming for Clay's record of 13 threes in a game. He wants to break that. But as a betting guy, I respect this. He's hit the over of his total points prop 8 out of his last 9 games. And he's hit the over on his 3-point props 7 out of his last 9 games. If you're a betting guy and you've been riding the Steph Curry wave, you're probably pretty happy.
I love that deep dive, man. And I don't know what it is about me being a host now that we're like agreeing on shit. It's very weird.
No,
It
it was me and Brad that disagreed a lot, and it's still that way, and that's fine.
Brad disagrees with everybody. That's who he is. He lives life like that. But yeah, I got Steph Curry too. I'm just gonna add some more stats here. They're winners of 5 of 6. They're climbing into that playoff race. They do not want to miss the play-in tournament. He had 53 on Denver with 10 threes, and then 42 the next time out in 29 minutes of play with 11 3-point bombs. He's on fire. This guy is shooting 49, 42, and 93 as his shooting splits. We're just all blessed to witness such greatness from the babyface assassin. I think he's going to take over the scoring lead, too. He's at 30.7. Brad Beal is at 31, and he's coming for that number 1 spot.
That's an interesting take. I like that. He might.
And Kev, on my bold prediction, I said he's going to break the 3-point record. I'm still waiting for him to drop 70, so I'm banking on it. He's hot. He's sizzling. He's playing his best scoring basketball of his career. Kevin, who you got? Performance of the week.
It's interesting that Steph's doing all that and they're still nice. Anyway, what I would say is my guy is the guy that I want to do is because I want to give a little bit of shout out to different guys. So Deandre Ayton. I think we kind of forgot about him. And the Suns are playing great. I mean, they're 40 and 15. They won their last 4. Didn't have the toughest schedule, but he put up 26 and 11 against the Kings. He put up 19 and 13 against Miami. He's shooting 90%, 80%, 69% in those 3 games. He's really solid right now. His PER is 34th in the league, so pretty high. 15 and 10. I think people forget about Ayton. They look at Booker and CP3, but I think CP3 is doing great for his career. So I got to give him a shout out. I think he's playing pretty well right now.
That's a good call because he struggled out the gate. He wasn't average. He was averaging like 10 and 10 basically, and we were wondering because we all expected uptick now that Chris Paul was there. So I like that shout out. And then the Suns are I think they're 40 and 15.
Yeah,
who would have guessed that? All right, Brad.
I think I did actually. I might have been the only one to have them in the top 4.
There you go.
All right. So my guy, I think it's gonna be Joel Embiid, man. We're looking at 36 and 14, 39 and 13, 36 and 7. Like the dude, he's playing at a level that I've never seen him play at. Whether or not he can keep it up in the playoffs, I don't know. That remains to be seen. But he's hunting for that MVP now, and I think he might see the door open with Murray coming out, and the Nuggets might drop a little bit in the playoff standings. So, I'm really impressed with how I've seen him. I never thought he'd be this when he got drafted, and he's this. So I'm rooting for him, and he's a beauty to watch right now.
Speaking of drafted, he was 1 behind Jabari Parker, and Jabari Parker just signed with the Celtics. They made some room. They cut Mo Wagner. I know this is kind of like a bonus question. Does Jabari Parker help the Celtics at all, Brad?
Same as my Trevor Ariza take. Like, I have no idea what he looks like right now. Like, what is his game right now? It's interesting. We've come such a way with injury management. Like, after guys tear their ACL, they're back in under a year and they're looking better than ever. But with basketball, we've seen guys like Isaiah Thomas, DeMarcus Cousins, Jabari Parker. Once you get hurt and you were on the cusp of making some big contract, you just get disposed of. It's kind of crazy how it's been happening lately.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. What do the rest of your guys take on the Celtics signing Jabari Parker to back up?
I don't think so. I mean, he plays the same position as them. That's probably their biggest log jam is at forward. So I think it's more of a depth signing.
Yeah, the man doesn't play a lick of defense, and that's not winning basketball when it comes to the playoffs. We all thought that, maybe Jabari Parker and Giannis Antetokounmpo was going to be, rising stars. He did average 20 per game before, getting that contract.
He was going to get paid.
And it's unfortunate because he was one of the most talented players that I've seen in high school. I really thought he was going to be a bona fide star, even after that first year at Duke. So we will move on, talking a little complaining done by Luka Doncic, which is no stranger to him whining. And Mark Cuban backing him up. He does do that. I guess you should have mentioned that when we were arguing because he complains so goddamn much. It's annoying.
But
So
and to his defense, though, he is a superstar. He probably wants those superstar calls, and he doesn't get them.
yeah, he does. I mean, he does look up to LeBron James, and LeBron James has a tendency to complain and whine to the referees a little bit.
No.
So, did I just say that? All right. So they call the play-in tournament stupid. What's your guys' take on that, Kevin?
Well, I mean, I like the play-in tournament because no one really cares about these last teams anyway, and no one really cares about the first round. At least it gives the other people to kind of like things, especially us Kings fans. If they're at like 10, maybe they could make it, and so you kind of get just a little bit more, I don't know, you get more excited about it. I don't understand why they think it's stupid. You know what? If you don't want to be in it, win more games and do better. So I like it because I think it brings interest to things that weren't interested before. I love the play-in tournament. I think they should have a play-in tournament for the first pick. So I think that you should have like the teams that don't make it, they should play and try to win for that first pick.
I love that.
That's hilarious.
That's actually a really great idea.
Yeah, I've always thought that because then it incentivizes these teams, and that's like the lottery. Now you got to play and try to do it.
It doesn't allow you to tank because you're not just going to, have the best odds to get that first pick if you're not the best team.
Yeah, the coaches should just play 1-1 and decide who gets the one pick. All right, Doc, what's your take on the complaining nature of the Mavericks?
So I actually agree with them, and I think, look, this past, I want to say year, 13 months has been crazy with them canceling the NBA season, postponing it, having it play into the fall and then starting around Christmas time. So, if your goal is to condense this season so that you can be done by the summer for the Olympics, then cut it to 72 games. Have every game mean a little bit more, especially since a lot of these teams are playing back-to-backs. But these teams that are the 7 through 10, they don't have much of a chance, like Kevin said. So it's like you're putting more games in when we've already seen probably the most injuries in a shortened season that we've ever seen. And then these teams are already on short rest playing on the road against teams that they're probably going to lose to. So just make it the normal thing and say, hey, this is a shortened season this year. I don't really like that play-in tournament.
Really?
I love it. Actually, for one of the reasons that you said you didn't like it is the reason I love it. Teams where, we have this shortened season and injuries can really change the whole outlook of your season. So a team like the Wizards where, you have a guy he's your star and he's out for 2 weeks and now you get him back and he's good, you still have a chance to go deep in the playoffs because now your team is healthy and you guys can make a run. So I love that March Madness element of it, and I love that it's giving teams that maybe they haven't had a chance to gel all year, or they're just clicking at the right time and they're just good enough to make that 7 through 10. It gives you a chance to do something special. And on top of that, Mark Cuban was on the committee that created this playing game. So how are you going to create it and then complain about it?
He's just defending Luka. You know what he's doing.
It's totally hypocritical on his part. But here's the thing: 8 out of 15 teams, like prior to this play-in tournament, they make that tournament. So make the playoffs. So more than half of the teams in each conference are already making it. It's not like the MLB where back in the day when they had 4 teams that made it, you had 3 from each division and you had 1 wild card. And then it's like, okay, yeah, less than 25% of the teams are going to make it. But
yeah, they were damn good teams.
Over 50% are like a bunch of teams in the East are going to be under 500 and make it. To me, that doesn't mean that you should have a chance to be in the playoff game if you can't even win 50% of your games the entire season.
Like that matters. It's relative. Like if you're the top 10, I think you should have a shot to have postseason. And if you're good enough, you'll keep playing.
So right now the 10 seed, the Raptors, are 23 and 30.
Wizards are tied.
They're tied with the Bulls, 22 and 33. They're all 11 games under 500. You think that they should have a chance to contend when they have a I want to see what when they have a 400 winning percentage.
Yes.
When they're winning
all three of those teams are completely different than they were at the beginning of the year. The Bulls have Vucevic now. Brad and Russ are playing well together. And the Raptors have Boucher, who's playing well, Flynn's playing well, Lowry's still in the mix, FEV's still in the mix.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you're gonna say from a relatively good stretch they've had that they're deserving of making the postseason when the majority of the season they haven't. And there's a bunch of teams that have dealt with injuries. Like the Jazz have injuries now. The Lakers have had their own share of injuries. The Nuggets have. Like there hasn't been one team that's kind of avoided the injury bug this year.
Well, let's face it. We want the best teams in, right? They're better than the Hornets right now because the Hornets have a bunch of injuries.
And the best teams are going to win. Like, look at the 5th seed made it to the finals last year. Like, it does, as long as you're in the dance, if you have a good enough team, you can make a run. Like, I just think
I want to see the Miami Heat are a well-coached and probably one of the best-run organizations in the NBA. So I don't think anyone's surprised that they were a 5th seed. But I want to see a team I want to see like a Hawks that's a 4th or 5th seed make it. You don't see that a lot. I think you're just putting unnecessary games in and you're rewarding teams that aren't deserving of being in there. If they
weren't deserving, they wouldn't be there, man. They won. If
they were a 500 team, they would be 8th in the East right now, and that's fine. You deserve to make it if you're 500.
My bad, Eric. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, if you're under 500, if you can't even win 50% of your games, and it's like, well, there's promise they had a good stretch where they won 4 in a row when both stars were playing. It's like, is a small stretch more indicative than the overall season they've had?
It doesn't matter. So to me, it's like the NCAA tournament. It's not the best team that wins always. It's the
UCLA was a playing team. They made it to the Final Four. Exactly.
Look at Washington. Look at Washington football team. They were under 500. They made the playoffs. They gave the Bucks, who won the Super Bowl, their hardest game all playoffs. Like it doesn't matter if you're there. You're there. It doesn't matter.
I'm not comparing college and pro basketball because there are so many differences that we could have our own 2-hour show about that.
So I did want to mention I do really like the play-in tournament. But I would change things up. I don't like how it's set up in the point where if it's 7 versus 10 goes, and if 10 wins, 7 plays 8. Like that's whack. Like just you're out. If you lose to the 10 seed, like let's just face it, you're not good enough. And then if the 10 seed beat the 7, I would and the winner of the 8 and 9 just moves up to 7, and now you're the 8 seed. That's how I would do it. I don't like if you lose in the play-in tournament, you're still in the playoffs. That part I don't like. I mean, you got 3 games, and in 3 games sample, like you gotta win 2 of them, and everybody's gonna be watching.
I'm fine with tweaking it, Coach. Like I agree that I just think it brings another element to the playoffs where against a bunch of fans that they might have been tuned out already at this point in the season. They're still in it. They're still excited, and a team like me, like the Wizards, I'm a Wizards fan, so I have a legitimate rooting interest in seeing the Wizards play, even though that they're 11 games under 500 right now, because to be honest, the way they're playing right now, this is a team that just beat Utah. Like this is a team that's beating very good teams, and there's a good chance that, if you catch them on the right week, you catch them when they're gelling, they could win a play-in game, and they could win a 7-game series. So you never know what could happen. And
injuries and luck happen. I mean, we had the biggest COVID scare. Brad missed some time. Russell was hurt coming into the beginning of the year, wasn't playing back-to-back. So I don't know. This is a better team than the Hornets are right now. So
completely different team. Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna talk about the NBA players to the NBA fantasy playoffs. It's here. And we're gonna talk a little strategies. Like, what are some strategies, some hacks that you use? And yes, I'm stealing everybody's secrets here, and I'm going to be sharing some of mine as well, even though, we are friendly competitors in this. We're going to start with the 1 seed. Go ahead, Doc. What's some hacks that you got?
Right, so first of all, I think that you have to be active every day. And I think that's something for, fantasy football people. You're used to checking your team once or twice a week, maybe waivers and then maybe Sunday morning. But with basketball, you have to check because people could be last-minute outs. So that's my first thing. I think also you want to look at who's playing a lot of minutes because that's going to give you a better chance to have someone that's going to, maybe a Lou Dort that puts up 42 because
shooting a lot of shots too.
Yeah, shooting a lot of shots. It's more opportunities for that. And I think the last thing is you can't get attached to the name brand that you had. Like
Absolutely.
I mean, not necessarily like Jamal Murray, but let's say LeBron. Like let's say they come out and they're like, hey, LeBron is still week to week, and maybe you don't have IR spots. I think you can't be afraid to cut bait with people at this point. Because I think you need people that are active and playing. And it's weird cutting LeBron James. Maybe he comes back for the finals. in 3 weeks. But it's like you have to realize that the fantasy playoffs are around the end of the NBA regular season. So the Lakers might just hold them out because they've already clinched a playoff spot. So that doesn't do any good for your fantasy roster. So I don't think you can have that emotional attachment to players anymore. I think you need to judge it based on performance and health at this point.
Yeah, and I took somebody cut Lowry, and I'm like, oh, nice. This is gonna be beautiful for me in the playoffs. And he's not playing back to back. They're resting. The Raptors are resting people when they have a shot to make it into the playoff playing tournament. It's really like a name like Lowry, a 7-time All-Star. Like it's hard to cut bait with that guy, but it is the playoffs, and you gotta. It's kind of that win now mentality. Kevin.
Yeah, being this my first year in fantasy basketball and I made the playoffs barely, I would say I just, draft good players at the beginning of the year, guys. I don't know what to tell you there. And also,
there we go, fantasy secrets, draft well.
Check your team after week 1. Like, don't be Brad, right? Like, you guys got to just keep being active and getting guys. I would just, for me, I'm just looking at, like, just setups, like games. Hey, where can I get the most volume? I'm anybody that plays the Wizards, anybody that's playing a bad team, I try to put them in there. Any bad defensive team, I'm going to try to get in there and just
the Kings.
Yeah, the Kings too. Whatever. I'm trying to win money, so that's all I care about. So that's where I'm at.
I think that you gotta utilize your pickups if you got them. You got to take a deep dive on Sunday. Really look at the future week. Who's going to play 4 or 5 games? Because even if, said player is playing 3 and is a big name, he's better. 5 games still totals out more. You also got to take a look at your players playing on certain dates, because if you got a guy playing 5 games, but you've used all of your roster spots and they're inactive, they're on your bench. You want to kind of want to mix and match so that way you can utilize the most amount of games per week. Sometimes my matchups, it comes down to, hey, this guy has 80 games this week and I got 67, and you're going to lose that no matter how much your team is balling out of control. So I think a deep dive on Sunday, looking for the future week, using those pickups Monday morning before other people can grab them, but also kind of saving your pickups for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, especially if you're in a categories league. If you're in that blocks area, you might go and pick up Noel if he's playing 2 games, even though he pretty much sucks. But if it wins you the week, then you can drop him on Monday. Those are a couple strategies that I look at. Brad?
Yeah.
Why are we asking Brad? Brad doesn't check his team. Brad doesn't know strategy.
Nobody wants my advice. I'm last.
There was a reason for that one. Yeah. Well, and then I guess my last thing before we move on is like the injured guys that are on your IL that come back. Like I got Lonzo and Lowry that just came back, but they're sitting on IL. Yeah. If I bring them back, I got to cut somebody and I can't make any pickups. I'm kind of in a bind, but if Lonzo, and he's on limited minutes, he starts playing big minutes, he's going to produce well, but yeah, you got to cut ties, and it's sometimes that decision could win or lose you a championship. I've been in first place in a basketball league all year long, like with Eric, with a huge lead, and I played like the 4 seed in the final, and I went rogue. I dropped some of my guys that I had all season just because I saw other players that I took the strategy of they're playing more games, and they wet the bed, and I lost $1,000. But I guess that's a story for another day. It still hurts me to the day. It was winner take all. Everybody put in 100, and God,
sheesh.
That's why I took a 4-year hiatus after that year. So this is my first year back into fantasy. After that, I'm still a little sour. You know who you are that beat me in the finals. You know my team is better than you. Damn it. All right. Our newest segment. This is a who you got. So this is going to lead into our debate, something that we love to do here at Triple Play Fantasy Basketball. 2 guys we're talking about is Ja Morant and De'Aaron Fox. So 2 of our top young point guards in the NBA, and these guys don't like each other. They really don't. There's an under-level beef, and they play a lot because it's Memphis and Sacramento, 2 teams that are, kind of the back end of the playoffs, or in the Kings case, like never really getting there. Speaking of a Kings fan, we're going to start with Kevin on this take. Who you got? John Morant, De'Aaron Fox. I have a feeling who you're going to pick since your guy's a top 5 under 25 player.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you look at just number-wise, when you look at Ja, he's done fine. He's been injured this year, so it's hard to look at numbers there. But, over time, De'Aaron Fox, well, not according to Eric, he's not a point guard. But to me, he's a true point guard, kind of leads the team. He definitely, he's averaged 25 points this year. That's more than what, you've seen what Ja's had. Every statistical category, actually, Fox does lead over Ja, except for, assist a little bit higher for him. But again, Ja's averaging 7.3 and Fox is averaging 7.1. You're looking at rebounds. You look at steals. I actually think Fox is a better defender than Ja Morant. So I think as an overall basketball player, I think that I would take De'Aaron Fox. I understand that Ja's an incredible athlete, what he can do. Even 3-point percentage, Ja's around 30% as a career, and Fox 327, so 32%. So he kind of is a little bit of a better player. I think he gets shit on because he plays for the Kings and people don't watch him, and the West Coast, they get a little bit of West Coast bias there. But I love Fox. I think that he's the guy you can build your team around. He's going to look good wherever he goes after this next contract.
They both need to improve their 3-point shooting, though, if they want to get to another level. If they want to be all-stars, if they want to be all NBA performers, both of these players need to take a step up in 3-pointers. And we saw Fox has taken a pretty significant leap as far as from year 1 to year 3. I think that plays a factor here. Morant is in year number 2. Fox is in year 3. And we saw Fox go from 17 a game to 25 in 2 years. And year number 3 is usually huge year for NBA players to take a giant leap going forward. And John Moran had some unlucky troubles with it, kind of with the ankle injury and all of that going forward. I think that Ja has a higher ceiling because of his explosiveness. And I think he has more of a winning pedigree following him. But this is, for me, this is splitting hairs to do you want consistency or do you want to try your luck on a high ceiling player? Because I don't know if John Morant's career is going to last as nearly as long as Fox. I can see Fox playing 15 years and still kind of getting up and down the court as fast as he can. So it's hard here. I guess just so I can disagree with Kev, I'll go with Ja. But you can't go wrong. You have a bona fide player that you can build a franchise around with both of these players. Doc, what's your take? Who you got?
So I got De'Aaron Fox, and I don't think it's bad that he's not a traditional point guard. I kind of think those are dying out, just like with positionless basketball, kind of a thing now. I don't think you see the traditional Chris Paul, Steve Nash's, where it's their first instinct is to pass. And to mention, De'Aaron Fox's scoring has gone up each year from 11 to 17.5 to 21 to now 25 this year. And that's correlated with field goal attempts. He's gone from 11 to 13 to 16 to 19 now. So he's definitely shooting the ball a little bit more. His assists have still kind of fluctuated between the 6.5, 7 a game.
Yeah, they remain the same throughout.
Yeah,
that
so
you guys act like those are bad.
No, I don't think that's a bad thing, and I don't think it's a knock to say he's not a traditional point guard. But I would take him for the points that you mentioned. I think he's a better basketball player in terms of skill. I think Ja Morant's athleticism and his youth is very exciting to watch. He's somebody that will bang on someone or will have a nice putback, but
they don't hand out those rookie of the years to just anybody.
Yeah, he's also a little frail. I mean, he's 174 pounds, and De'Aaron Fox is 185, and they're the same height, 6'3". So we kind of saw with Luka what he did with John Morant the other day, kind of backing him down, and Ja couldn't really stand his battle. But I also think of when you want a bucket at the end of the game, you're going to go to De'Aaron Fox. And being a Wizards fan, I saw this year firsthand where he hit a step back game winner. And I think he is the no doubt number one on that team to get it. And I don't think that's the case with Memphis. I think he's obviously their budding star, but Grayson Allen dropped 33. John Morant isn't their go-to scorer. Sometimes it's Dylan Brooks. Sometimes it's Brandon Clark. Sometimes it's Grayson Allen. Sometimes it's Jonas Valanciunas. And that's, for me, what's going to separate it is who do you want the ball in their hands to end the game? And I think it's De'Aaron Fox.
I think that their rosters are comparable. I think that the Grizzlies and the Kings, the surrounding cast, is close. I mean, I don't think that the Grizzlies have a much better team here. I mean, Harrison Barnes is still a really good player in this league. I think coaching has a lot to do with it, and I think Kev can agree with that he wants Luke Walton out of there. But John Morant's going to have another, play-in experience with the playoffs. Let's see if that helps him out, and he'll have an entire offseason to help develop his three-point game. So we'll see. Time will tell. All right, and now our question of the week: the Hall of Fame.
Me, huh?
What's that? My fault. Go ahead, Bray. Who you got? I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say no. I think De'Aaron Fox is definitely the best pick. It seems like a lot of us were in agreement there. He seems to me like the reincarnation of John Wall, and then John Moran is more like the reincarnation of Russ Westbrook, even though neither of them died. But it's interesting to me that
that's an interesting analogy too. Like,
yeah, right.
That's only Brad Stradamus can like come up with some type of analogy like that.
But I was gonna say like it. The reason people don't see De'Aaron Fox as a true point guard is because he doesn't have he has a shoot first tendency, and the reason that is because he's the best shooter on the team. Like he's the best scorer on the team. Like we're looking at 27, 33, 43, 30, 23, 31. Those are his point totals from the last 3 games, and he played damn near 40 minutes in all of them. Like they're
also 1-9 in the last 10. They're losing those games
because they have a terrible team. Like they're really rebuilding. Like the Grizzlies are built to make the playoffs right now. They have Jonas Valanciunas. They have Dylan Brooks. They have
it's crazy when you have 2 supermax players on your team and you say that you're in the rebuilding phase.
Yeah, it just so happens that their young players they're just not there yet. Like you look at the Pelicans, like they've got Zion and Brandon Ingram, but they're just not there yet. Like the Memphis is just they're built different. They're built to win in the way that the Kings aren't yet.
I like Harrison Barnes over Dylan Brooks. And then when you're talking about Valanciunas, him and Bagley are comparable, but obviously Valanciunas is better. He's better.
What are you saying?
But Bagley was a number 2 overall pick, and
Bagley might not even.
Kevin.
You got Holmes. Holmes is not bad.
I would rather take Dylan Brooks over Barnes.
Really?
So would I. Yes.
No way. He's shooting in the low 40s.
Have you seen Harrison Barnes play basketball?
Bro,
he's
Harrison
efficient.
Barnes is horrendous.
No, he's not. He averages terrible. 17 a game.
He's really bad, man.
And he plays defense.
I've watched a lot of League Pass.
And he shoots efficiently.
Brad, it's amazing for as much League Pass as you watch.
And he's a champion.
Maybe I should check my fantasy team.
He shoots 49%, and I can't wait to see what Dylan Brooks shoots because he will shoot you out of every game.
He's a volume shooter. Like he's having a bad year.
He shoots 41%, and he averages 17 a game. Harrison Barnes averages 16 points a game with 7 rebounds and shoots 49%. And Dylan Brooks gives you 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Harrison Barnes will give you 4 assists.
They have completely different roles. Like you're talking about a guard versus a forward. Like they're completely different roles, and they have different responsibilities. That's the reason for their difference.
They have the same roles and same responsibilities.
Dylan Brooks is a 2. Harrison Barnes is a 4.
They're both the number 2 players on their team. And he shoots. And Harrison Barnes shoots 49,
I'm not
37, and 83 from the line. Those are awesome clips. And Dylan Brooks.
Let's defer to Kevin on this. When you watch Harrison Barnes play, what do you see?
Nothing. I see no impact. Like there's nothing that he does in a game that elevates this team. He's just
a champ. And he has higher win share numbers. He's got higher PER. He has a higher efficient field goal percentage. He's the better defender of the 2. He can guard more position.
And
he is overpaid.
He is overrated. Give me Brooks because I'll just take him.
Yes.
All right. Cool. All right. So we're gonna stop talking about like average guys, and we're gonna talk about guys that deserve to be in the Hall. Yeah, cool. It's time to move on. Like I think we reached our limit on that. We did a deep dive on Dylan Brooks versus Harrison Barnes when the conversation was John Morant and De'Aaron Fox. So that's funny.
Fair.
Our question of the week is the Hall of Fame finalists have been named. Who's the most deserving? I think outside Paul Pierce,
Paul Pierce going in the Hall of Fame for different reasons.
Yeah, buddy. Him and James Harden are going to that same hall.
Yeah, man.
So Paul Pierce, 10-time All-Star, Finals MVP. He should probably be first ballot. We can't keep the truth out of our conversations. His latest tweet was, "I can't lose. When I lose, I'm winning." So Paul Pierce is a little different. So the list includes Paul Pierce, Chris Bosh, Michael Cooper, Marcus Johnson, Tim Hardaway, Ben Wallace, and Chris Webber. Since I forgot Brad last time, Brad, you're going to start this one off.
Oh, how kind of you.
Yeah.
So for me, I've wanted Chris Webber in the Hall of Fame like the moment he was available to be put in the Hall of Fame. And that's the reason for that isn't necessarily because of what he did in his pro career. You know, that was he was great as a pro, but he never you're never like, okay, Chris Webber is, he's in the pantheon of the all-time greats. That's not his role. But the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame is a Hall of Fame that includes your entire career as a basketball player. And what Chris Webber did with the Fab Four changed college basketball forever. Fab Five, sorry.
I was gonna say I thought there was 5 in the lineup.
Changed college basketball forever, man. And I think between him and I guess he had the best career out of all of them, and I really think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame off of that alone. Like he literally changed the game.
It's a Fab 3. They I don't know how to get 5. Jimmy King, the Texas boys,
Jimmy King,
shout out, but like they were no Juwan Howard or Jalen Rose. But I think it's a travesty that Chris Webber is not in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He was a 5-time All-NBA. Yeah, he's only got 5 All-Stars, but he was playing heads up with Tim Duncan, KG every single season,
and got that Lakers series robbed from him.
Oh man,
you guys are just stealing all my answers.
So you were gonna go Chris Webber too. I think. Well, also in high school, he was one of the greatest high school players like that we've heard about. You're talking about his college days, and I mean he's nothing but produced his whole career. He's got a career average of 21 and 10. Yeah. Like, could put Chris Webber in the
yeah. I mean, hall. He averaged 20 points for 9 straight seasons, or 20 plus for 9 straight seasons from the 94 to 95 season to the 02-03. I mean, you figure that they literally, like, the West was stacked at that point. Not just from the all-star perspective of he's fighting with KG, Tim Duncan, Shaq in the front court, but also had to fight with the Lakers. And talk about if he has a ring or two. That's maybe how we change the narrative. Maybe the Kings to keep that team a little bit longer. He also retired at 34, and I know his last year he only put up 3.9 points per game, but he's not one of those people that is playing that we see a lot of times now that play till they're 36, 37 years old to kind of stat pad. I mean, he kind of retired as soon as that cliff kind of came. He said, okay, I'm done. And I think had he played a little bit longer, his numbers would be better. And it would be, okay, well, he's more deserving because he's higher on the scoring list. He has more rebounds. Maybe he did what players do today and then ring chases. So, but I think
incredibly talented too.
And he's also like, look at the stats alone. But if you ever watched him play, he was the best passing big man of that era.
Yeah, I'm glad.
And arguably one of the best passing big men of all time. Like
career average of 4 a game, but like they had like 5 seasons where he averaged over 5, and
he was just so smooth.
Machine.
He was just so smooth.
Well, we had Scott Pollard on, and what did he say? He played with LeBron James, Paul Pierce, Chris Webber. He said there was nothing on the basketball court that Chris Webber could not do, and he was the best player that he played with. That's out of quote Scott Pollard's mouth. So that's high praise. He averaged 27, 11, 4, 1.7 blocks, 1.3 steals one season for Sacramento. I mean, the guy was just an amazing player. I think he just rubbed some people the wrong way, and that might be like a black eye to why he's maybe not in. But it reminds me of like Terrell Owens. Like Terrell Owens, he got to be in the hall for NFL. Like, let that guy in. All right. Let's go, Coach Kev. Who you got?
Yeah,
most deserving.
You guys said all my shit. So, I mean, Webber was my guy. I will.
Yeah, we took the Kings guy, man.
I will bring this up for Webber. In that 2002 series with the Lakers that I was devastated on and that we got stolen from us, he averaged about 25 a game, and he was the guy. He had 2 triples. or he triple doubles. He killed it, and he was right there. He was almost had 5 in that series, so he almost had 5 triple doubles in that series against Shaq and Kobe and those guys. He deserves to be in. I think he rubs people the wrong way. He's a terrible announcer, though. Jesus, I cannot do.
He is awful. I can't stand it. My ears start
I'm the only
bleeding.
one that doesn't hate him.
That hurts his.
I like him, but I can't stand him as a commentator.
I swear to God, if I do go to hell, it's going to be him and Reggie Miller.
I love Reggie. Don't come for Reggie. I love Reggie.
That's what's going to happen. It's going to be those 2 dudes announcing my life, and that's going to be my punishment. But I think he deserves to be in. That's my guy, so I think he needs to get in there.
All right. So I mean I gotta mention the guy that is gonna be first ballot. Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh is a 2-time NBA champion, 11-time All-Star in 13 seasons. He only missed it that first 2 years, and if it weren't for a blood clots, he would have continued that stretch, and we might be looking at a 14, 15-year pro. He could probably still boogie today if it weren't for that. The way he was keeping up with his health, his versatility, his ability to stretch and defend bigs and guards. He was the glue of that Miami Heat team, and he took a back seat. He's a great character guy. Chris Bosh, all the praise. I mean, yeah, I'm a LeBron James fan, and yeah, he helped bring LeBron James his first championship and took a back seat. So I got a certain warm feeling for him. But he belongs in. I think we can all agree that Paul Pierce belongs in, and we already went deep on Chris Webber why he should be in. Any of these other guys stick out to you, or at that point that's the Hall of Good? There's Tim Hardaway on the board, Ben Wallace. I think he won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times.
I like Ben Wallace.
Michael Cooper. You like Ben Wallace as a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I like Ben Wallace in there. I don't know if he's ever going to get in, but when you think about his contribution to the game, he could be argue. What's the word I need? Arguably,
you got the best
considered
diction out of all of us. Yeah. Like we can't help you out. You're the guy that helps us out, right?
Oh man. So arguably, he could be considered the start of positionless basketball, right? Like he's an undersized center who was playing defense against any center that you needed. He could also guard 4s and occasionally 3s. He was on that Pistons team that won that championship that really nobody thought they were going to win. I really love what he brings to the game. I just don't know if he had the longevity of a career, the accolades that you need to get in, but I'd love to see him in there.
I don't. I think that he was a product of the timing. I think he would get played off of the court now. I know he's just a terrific rebounder, one of the greatest rebounders.
He ain't playing now. He played then.
I might have to bite back on that because I'm also like I think Draymond, there's a strong case for him too, and those guys are kind of similar.
100% making it.
Yeah. So
I don't think they're similar because Draymond is essentially like the point guard of that team, even though it's like, you know what I mean? Like he's the orchestrator of that entire offense. He's the engine that makes it go. So that's different than what Ben Wallace was doing. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, be careful with the argument that he would get run off the court. Bob Cousy's ass would get run off the court now, too.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, but you had to go. You went into 1950. I'm talking about 2000s.
I'm just saying, you got to play it by where they played. And Bob Cousy's ass, he'd be serving me popcorn at NBA games in 2020.
That's right. You gotta judge the guys in the area that they played, and Ben Wallace was the man during his time.
Man, and when Bill Simmons hears this, he's coming for you, man. Yeah. He loves some Bob Cousy. He's got Bob Cousy in his top 10 point guards all time.
Is Cousy still relevant? Or I mean, is Bill Simmons still relevant? I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah. The Ringer. He talks more than just basketball.
I'll edit this part out. No free ads for the Ringer.
Edit it out. But you gotta think that like he does provide. You gotta take him like with a grain of salt. Like he's not speaking all truth. He's a very opinionated person, but he's got some really good takes. And then he'll take you into movies, football. Like he's well rounded. Shout out Bill Simmons. But no free ads. Get him out of here. All right, and that's all we have today. You guys got anything to say on the way out?
Nope.
All right, well, we thank you guys. Like always, be safe. Continue to love the game of basketball like we do. Share with your friends. Hit the subscribe button and like for the team. That's it for Triple Play Fantasy Basketball, and we will see you next time.